Everybody, welcome to this Knowledge Exchange on submitting to the Festival of New Musicals. I'm Adam Grossworth, NAM's Membership Director. Just very quickly before we begin, in case you have not used GoToWebinar before, you can hear us. We can't hear you. That is by design, just to avoid feedback. It's not because we don't want to hear from you. We do, and there will be opportunities to ask for questions. That is, it's to avoid audio feedback, not that we don't want to hear your feedback. You should see on the top right of your screen a little minimize control panel. Just click that arrow there, and you can, then you'll see the word audio. Click the plus sign next to it if it's minimized, and you'll see instructions to enable your audio. If you don't have a microphone on your computer, then you can click Use Telephone and follow the instructions there to dial in, enter the code, and enter the PIN. We do tend to recommend that just a little bit more reliable. Also, that way, if something happens to either your or our internet connection, you'll still at least be able to hear us talk. But also, if you do have a mic on your computer, then that works fine as well. At any point, if you have a question, there's a little hand icon there. You can click that to raise your virtual hand. And when we pause for questions, we will call on you and unmute your microphone. You can also type a question. If you don't have a mic or if you're just shy, you can type a question in the box a little further down on that control panel there. And when we get to it, we will read the question aloud so that everybody can hear what it was and answer that question as well. That's also a place to let us know if you're having any technical difficulties or if we're talking too fast or anything like that. Just go ahead and type that there at any point, and we'll make sure that we address that as we're going. So that's pretty straightforward. And with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our New Works Director and Festival Producing Director, Brandon Haldine.
And thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'm excited that you have interest in applying for the Festival of New Musicals. And the goal of this webinar is for us to kind of step through the submission process and the application process for the festival. I'll talk a little bit about the organization, NAMT, as well as the goals of the festival, give you a sneak peek at the application itself, and then also I'll give you some tips and tricks for the best application possible. We'll pause as we go throughout to ask questions, but again, just feel free to put things into chat, and we'll be able to answer things as we go along. So just give me a second here. So the National Alliance for Musical Theater is a national service organization serving theaters around the world. All the NAMT members are producers of musical theater, either new or classic musical theater, pre-existing musical theater from around the world. The NAMT is a network of these theaters to help them build together bonds and share techniques so we can strengthen the field of musical theater. The festival itself was started in 1989 as an opportunity for these theaters to share works with each other. Since then, in the 28 years since then, the festival has changed a lot since the original festival in 1989 to become a showcase of new musicals and new music theater writers for an audience from around the world who gather in October every year for our Festival of New Musicals, where we will showcase 8 new musicals for an audience of over 650 industry members who are interested in the development and the furthering of new musicals. They're not just New York-based, they're not just regionals, they're from around the world, and basically everyone who's anyone comes to the festival every year. I best like to refer to it as kind of an auto show for new musicals. If you are really into cars, you go to an auto show to look for a car to take on the road next year, while some people go there just to look at concept vehicles. It really is a showcase for people looking to shop for new musicals and new talent to help develop at their theaters or as commercial producers. Right now, the view that you have is the NAMT homepage, which all of you most likely have already surfed over to because you successfully registered for this webinar. When you're on this page, there's a lot of information here to learn about NAMT and learn about the history of the festival. If you float over to the Festival and Concerts tab, you can actually go to Festival History, which is an important page I always recommend everyone look over. You'll be able to see what we have done over the past 27 festivals. And one little insider trick I always tell people is to look at the past couple festivals. We are always looking to present something new and different every year. So it's really important that if you go, oh, hey, they just did Othello the Remix this year, which is an adaptation of Othello. If you go, oh, I have a show just like that, they'll like that show. That is true, but we may not want to do it next year. The year after we did Three Little Pigs by Stiles and Drew, we got a lot of shows of fairy tale adaptations, but the writers did not take into consideration that we just did one. So really take a look at what shows we have done. As you scroll down, you can start to see what our shows have done since then. I'll admit that this is slightly out of date, which is my fault. But if you scroll down, you'll be able to see our successes and the shows that we have done, and just the very different types of shows and different levels of development we've done over the past few years. So I think it's really important for any festival or any development opportunity, be it ours or someone else's, to take a moment and really see what they excel at and what they have been doing and what our purpose of their programming is. Because every festival is different. We are different from the O'Neill. We are different from NYMF. We are all our own beast. I think the best way to always sort that out is start digging into the history and what shows we presented recently. And you can click on the writers and learn more about them, and click and learn more about the past festivals throughout our website. And just in general, I recommend you kind of just go through our website and learn more about NAMT and our membership to understand more about how we function. Back on the home page, there we go. You can easily find the festival application by clicking on the festival first tab here. And this will bring you to the submissions page. I know that most of you have probably already seen this. I'm just going to talk to this briefly. I'm not going to read this page out loud because that would be a 2-hour webinar. It is a long page. It is a very important page. It is not the most exciting page, but it does have a lot of important information in here that I really recommend you look over thoroughly. As you go through here, it will talk you through our deadlines that are coming up, and all of our deadlines are set by the endorser type, which I'll talk about in a moment. It also talks about the objectives of the festival and whether or not your show is eligible. Really take a moment to kind of step through each of these steps. You'll see that there's this image right here, which here it is enlarged, which is actually should say the 20th annual. But if you look here, this is kind of basically show you, it's a little bit of a map to see whether or not your show is eligible. It's a very simple, just kind of follow the yes/no questions to figure out whether or not your show can submit. The general guideline is that as long as your show has not been submitted more than 3 times to the festival and has not been licensed by a major licensing house or has not already been on Broadway, it is eligible. There's a people believe that the festival will not present shows that have been already presented at regional theaters. That is not true. We would even consider presenting shows that have been off Broadway. We are looking for shows that have not gained the national exposure that our festival can give it. So we have presented shows that have had 3 regional productions. Othello the Remix last year had a regional production at Chicago Shakes, had multiple touring productions all around the world, but never been seen in New York City or seen by the majority of the industry. And that's one of the reasons why we selected it last year. So we are looking at shows that are at the very early stages of just having a reading or have had no readings. We actually had 2 shows this year that had never had a public reading, all the way through shows that have had multiple productions. We are trying to find shows across the spectrum. So it's always very important that you go through this little chart to make sure that your show is eligible. If for some reason you do submit a show that is not eligible, we do contact the writers or the applicants and tell them that unfortunately their show will not be accepted. Further down the page, you'll see step 2, which is about compiling information. Anyone who's applied over the past several years knows that we use an online application. This year we have changed companies that are hosting this application called Submittable, which I'll be showing you in a moment. In the past, you would have to assemble absolutely everything you needed for the festival application because you could only finish it in one sitting. You weren't able to save your work and come back. So there was always a lot of just compiling all this information so you're able to fill it out successfully. The great thing about Submittable now is that you're actually able to save your work and go back and do this in bits and pieces. But to make it easy, you can see that there is a gather your information you would need button right there, and that will bring you to a PDF that will outline everything you need to be able to fill out the application. We kind of take broad strokes of all the information you will need. If you're applying with a member endorsement or if you're a festival alumnus writer, there's going to be slightly less information you upload, but this is kind of everything you will need. And it's purposely made to look like a checklist, so you can print it up and start checking off boxes to make sure you have everything you need. It looks like a lot of information. It is a lot of information, but it is not. None of it's too crazy. It's the names of the writers. Maybe you have to check to see what their ASCAP and BMI affiliation is, and then their agent information. Was the genre of this musical, the number of acts? It's pretty straightforward information that you will know. You will need to assemble people's bios and the history of the show. But it's a lot of fields, but it's mostly, again, things that you will know as you go along. So this is all done here. We'll talk about the script upload and the demo upload when we get to the actual application. But again, back on the festival submissions page, there's a great button here that says gather the information you need. Again, they'll bring you to a PDF. Print that up and start assembling the information. As I said before, the deadlines are based upon who endorses your show. Every show that's submitted to the festival, unless it is written by a festival alumnus writer, needs to be endorsed by a professional theater, literary agent, or commercial producer, or by a NAMT member or an associate member of the National Alliance for Musical Theater. There's a chart here that outlines all of this. And here you'll be able to see the different due dates, the number of submissions that each organization is allowed to endorse, as well as the cost of each of those submissions. NAMT members are allowed to submit up to 3 endorsements for free, and the next 2 endorsements cost $25. Associate members are able to endorse for just $25. Other professional theaters or producers or theatrical literary agents is $70 per application. And this fee, which does not include the late fee that comes into effect later, these fees can be paid for by the theater, by anyone, frankly. We just need that payment to be made, and that can be done by check or by credit card. We do very much prefer credit card because it's easier for us to track on our end, but it can be paid for by check. Again, this chart that I'm showing you can be found right here on the festival submission. You will then, it talks about preparing all of your work samples. The big part of the work samples will be essentially your script and your demo. The script needs to be completely unattributed, which means it should not have your names or your agent names or any production history or past casting information anywhere on the script. This process is completely blind, which means that the readers on the festival committee do not know who wrote the show. You could be a 17-year-old from Manhattan. You could be a Tony Award winner. You could be a very experienced writer. You could be someone who came to writing later in life. Our writers will know nothing other than what they might know from just being in the industry. So our application is all given to them completely blind. When they see the application, all they see is the title of the show, your script, and your demos. So it's very important that you follow right here the how we want you to outline the script. There's also a script sample, number 7, that I'll load up for you here. This is just a sample of potential formatting. You do not need to copy the font size or the font. It just kind of gives you a sense of a really solid script sample. The big thing for us is that we have all this information up front. We need to know who the characters are. You do not need to list them man 1, man 2. This show was an ensemble show that we did back in 2010. I just have always seen as a really great example of a really clean and easy script for the readers to go through. It gives us a song list, which are all the songs in the show. It also gives us what was called a CD track list, but is now your demo track list, because you will not be submitting CDs this year. You will be uploading demo tracks. The song list is obviously all the songs in the show. The demo tracks are just those that you have recordings of. And then there's a synopsis. They also took the opportunity here to state that, a nice author's note, that the lyrics on the demo are out of date in some songs. Where there's a discrepancy, please take the script's lyrics as the most up-to-date lyrics for us to look at. One of the things that we do ask everyone to do, which does take a little extra time, is we ask you to embed the track numbers into the script. You can see right here, it says music number 1. The Night Belongs to You. Let me just highlight that there. That says track number 1. That's really important for us. When you're submitting your show, you need to think about the fact that the committee members are going to be reading dozens of scripts, and you want to give them a really clean, easy journey through the story of your show. So they're going to download all the tracks. They're going to download the PDF of your script. They're going to sit down with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or a glass of something else, and they're going to sit down and they're going to read through your show. And you want it to be as easy as possible. So what's best for them is that they know, oh great, I'm reading through the show. Here's track 1. I press play, and now as I'm going through the show, I can now easily go through and listen to everything in order. And we ask that you do that throughout the entire show. And in general, I should recommend that's something you do for any script that you submit to any organization. It really makes it incredibly easy for us. Going back to the submissions page here, we also ask that you number your tracks. And the big thing is we ask that the script is complete. It doesn't mean it's ready for production. It doesn't mean that it's any means perfect. But it does mean that it is complete, that all the songs are in there, all the lyrics are in there. If we get to a scene and instead there's a description of what will happen in the scene, your show will be disqualified. We will only take into consideration scripts that are finished. Demo CDs. You'll be asked to upload individual tracks to the festival application. You can upload up to 20 of them. If your demo has more than 20 tracks, you upload the first 20 tracks, and then we'll ask you to also include a zip file. We're asking everyone to include a zip file if possible regardless. Because this is a new system, we want to give our panelists the opportunity to look at the individual tracks, or if it's easier for them, they plan on listening to this on a plane, they can download the zip file, transfer all the songs onto their iPhone or listening device and listen to stuff as they travel. The recording for the demo CD should be a significant representation of the songs in the show that accurately highlights the scope and depth of the score and lyrics. So the idea there is that we want the recording to sound like the show. It does not mean that it needs to be fully orchestrated. Honestly, I'll tell you that if the show has never had a reading before, or if it's in a very rough position, but it has fully orchestrated studio demo tracks, that is always a little bit of a red flag for the committee, because it's the cart going before the horse. So we're always more than happy for there just to be just piano and some singers. But if you have a show that has a very specific sound, if you have a show that is all harps, or you have a show that's rock and roll, you should probably think about getting a couple harps in there, or getting a drum kit and electric guitar, so we can have a really sense of the sound of the show and the way you want it to hear. I recommend to people that if it's helpful for you and more cost-effective, is record a few of the tracks with a little more of a fleshed-out orchestration so we can hear the rock band. Highlight that in your script, that you know tracks 1, 4, and 8 are studio tracks with 4 orchestrations, and the rest of it is all just piano. And that'll give us a sense of what you want the sound to be. There's just some styles of music, hip-hop, rap, blues, jazz sometimes, rock, that just do not lend themselves to piano only, but we don't want you to feel like you have to take your entire show and go to the studio and cut every single song, every single track. We also ask that at least 50% of the songs of the musical are on the demo. That is just so you're able to put your best foot forward. We have accepted shows with less tracks. We have accepted shows that have everything recorded. Do not worry about including reprises or recitatives. Make sure that those tracks are representative of the entire show. It's not just Act 1, it's not just Act 2, it's not just ballads, it's not just group numbers. We want to hear a little bit of everything. I really think it's a great idea to include the opener, to include the main character's big number, an act break, the end of the act number, really give us a sampling of what the whole show sounds like. If we don't get that, we're going to need to start filling in what those songs sound like in our heads. And our versions of your songs are not going to be as good as your versions of your songs, so you don't want us making up tunes in our head. So give us as much as you can, but 50% of the songs is more than enough for us to get a clear sense of what the demo is like. It should be a good quality recording with a clear piano or appropriate instrumentation and clear vocals. We also recommend that the singer for the recording is appropriate gender and vocal types for those roles. It can be hard if a duet's supposed to be between a man and a woman and it's two men singing it. It's just sometimes hard to differentiate what's going on. If a song's supposed to be sung by a soprano, so it's best if we're able to hear it being sung by a soprano. It just, again, put your best foot forward and really helps us hear your show. The committee is very smart group of people, and they're able to take leaps of faith, but sometimes you don't want them to take leaps of faith in the wrong direction. So it really is, again, about putting your best foot forward. We ask that you do upload all of your tracks to the application. If you cannot figure that out or you're not able to do that, you are able to mail us a CD, but I'll tell you right now that 2016 is the last year where we will let people to mail in CDs. Starting with the 2017 festival, all tracks must be uploaded. So this is a good year to take a shot at it. Do not submit any DVDs, marketing materials, press clippings, anything else to us. When you fill out your application, step 4 here, you also need to give us a letter of endorsement. If you're being endorsed by a NAMT member or associate member, they can just send me an email. They have my email address stating which shows they're endorsing. If it's not a NAMT member, we will need a letter from that person or that organization on their official letterhead, and it will be uploaded as a PDF as part of your application. If that organization is not comfortable sending you that letter, they can mail it to my attention at NAMT. All supporting materials are subject to the same deadlines as the application. So again, if you are getting an endorsement from a non-NAMT member, it needs to be, that letter needs to be an official letterhead. It needs to be uploaded to the application. All that letter needs to state is, hi, my name is blank from blank, and I am endorsing the show Gone with the Wind by blank for the National Alliance for Musical Theaters Festival. I recognize that this is my sole official submission this year. Signed. It does not be long. They didn't need to justify their endorsement. They just need to recognize that this is their submission for the year. You'll also be asked to upload your proof of rights. It is very important to us that any materials that are copyrighted in the show, that you have full release to be working on that property. So either it's based on an underlying idea from a movie, or book, novel, comic strip, whatever, or you're using music that is not your property. We do need proof, and that can be, again, uploaded as part of the application, or you can mail that in. We do need that to be fully a full release all the way up through production, not just a release for the underlying rights up through the festival, because we want to present shows that can be fully produced. So that's why we do not accept them just up to the festival. We need full rights. I also know that getting that can be very, very tricky. So if you hit a snag, give me a call, shoot me an email, we'll be able to figure something out. If the musical is wholly original, we ask that you upload a letter that states so. Just a letter from the writer saying this is wholly our creation, and you sign it and you upload it. That's just for legal reasons. We do not want to present anything, nor does anyone, that is not legally able to be presented. And again, the deadlines are here for everyone. As you go through all this, you will actually see a FAQ boxes throughout here. You click on the FAQs, it brings you just some frequently asked questions. Many of them I'm covering right now about the festival. If you don't see a frequently asked question there and you have any, always send them to me. We're always adding to those lists. And then the final part here is the selection process. Before I move on to the selection process, I'd love to jump over to the application itself. Before I do that, does anyone have any questions about criteria to be eligible to submit, or what you need to specifically submit, or any questions about the demo tracks, underlying rights letters, endorsement letters, or the script samples?
I see a raised hand here from Deborah. Deborah, I'm going to unmute your phone. You should be able to talk to us. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Oh. Hi, how are you?
Oh, do you have us on speaker?
Oh. Yes. But I'm confused because I'm on Skype. Are you hearing me?
Yes, you should take us off speaker so we don't get that echo, and then we should be fine.
Okay, I think I can just, okay, I'm just going to plug in my phone. Get on, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
perfect.
great. Okay, what if I don't have an endorser yet? How do I get one?
What I recommend is that you first look at the NAMT member list online, which, sorry everyone, I'm going to scroll quickly. Go back to the top of the page where step 2, there's a link here for the NAMT member list. Let me open up in a separate tab. Here's the NAMT member directory of all the NAMT members across the world. See if you have any relationship with them. Otherwise, it just needs to be a professional theater or a professional commercial producer of theater. And how we define a professional theater is that a professional theater compensates their artists and staff. That's the very thin, wiggly line we draw between a professional theater and community theater. So anyone can endorse your show.
Okay, I think I understand that. All right, that's helpful. And is there any advantage to a more substantial endorsement, or it really doesn't matter? You're either endorsed or, well, you're just endorsed. There's not a better endorsement than another one.
Nope, the festival committee has no clue who's endorsed your show. They only know the title, the script, and the demo. They don't know anything. All the stuff you put in the application is just for me and our office. So it has no bearing on the actual decision of the committee.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to mute you again, but just raise your hand if you have any other questions. We had a question that I think you answered along the way about which tracks needed to be on the demo, if it needed everything or not, and I think you covered that. We have another demo question here from Carl. Should all the dialogue in the script be included in the demo, or can it be largely just the singing?
It can absolutely be largely just the singing, and that is preferred. What I think is really slick and very helpful as a reader is that if you do have a moment where the song, the music will continue underneath, but now there's going to be a scene, but that's not included in the demo, and just put in there, pause track 2. And then at the end of the scene, say, play, continue track 2. When writers do that, that makes it so easy, makes the experience so enjoyable. Because then you're not like, oh, wait, now they're speaking dialogue, I have to hit pause quickly. Again, you're trying to give us a clear, easy journey. So yes, I actually prefer there not to be dialogue. I find dialogue on demos very jarring. But you do not need to include it. Just the songs is more than enough for us. Any further questions before we move on to the application itself?
Looks like no right now. If you think of anything else as we go, feel free to throw it in, and we'll get to it at the next break.
Great. So everyone, I'm going to scroll quickly here. So at the very bottom of the page, we will come back to steps 5 and 6, but let's talk about the application a bit. At the very bottom of the page, where it says ready to start your application, you're going to be asked to answer a couple questions. These questions are going to help us guide you to the correct application. There are many variations of our application, and rather than you guys trying to figure that out on your own, it's just these very simple questions here. So you say, I'm going to be endorsed by a professional theater company. I'm going to be paying by credit card. And you click submit. And here it will bring you to that form. And it will ask you to create an account for Submittable. At this point, you are now in Submittable, which is a third-party site that is hosting this process and actually hosts the evaluation process for many adjudication across the country. It's a really great site. You'll be asked to sign up for an account. They do not share that information with anyone other than me. And the great thing is that you can come back and continue this process later. So you'll be asked to create an account. Rather than do that, I'm going to jump into a PowerPoint here. It's much more easier to understand. So again, here's the pre-application. You fill out all these different questions, just answer them truthfully. You'll be brought to the right form. If you happen to fill this out and you realize you're going to change, just fill this out again. It'll bring you to a new version of the form. If you get confused at any point, you can always email me at brandon@namp.org or call us here at the office. We're always more than happy to help walk you through this. So here is the festival application. This one happens to be an application for someone who's a non-member. We have listed again here all the information you need to know. Our phone number, my email is in here, so you're able to get in contact with us. The deadlines for shows endorsed by non-members, which include literary agents, commercial producers, and other theaters, is going to be December 22nd of this year. And then for a late fee of $15 extra, you can apply instead 2 weeks later on January 5th. And the member deadlines are January 12th and January 26th, as you see below. Here you go. We're creating an account with Submittable. And then it's pretty basic. It's all the stuff I showed you in the form earlier. The title of the show. When you float over any of these fields, little blue boxes will pop up with a little more information if you need to know specifically what to put in that field. And I'll just step through this quickly. We'll ask you who's endorsing your show, who should we be expecting that letter from in case it's going to be sent separately. Here's where you're able to upload your file. We'll ask if there's a commercial producer attached to the project. Having a commercial producer attached to your project does not affect the decision of the committee. We have done shows with them. We've done shows without them. The only time it will ever affect a decision is if we have, we're down to the final 12 shows we're interested in, and 10 out of 12 of them have commercial producers. Because we want to present shows of varying styles, scopes, themes, and parts and levels of development, we also don't want to present 8 shows that all have commercial producers or 8 shows that are all 4 people and a table. So it is taken into consideration. I'll say that over my past 8 festivals, it has never come into play. We just need to know if there is a commercial producer and what his or her name is, because if you are accepted, they will become part of our process. We ask for the primary contact. This is the person we will talk to if we have any questions about this. We ask if you submitted before, and what years. Do not worry about getting those accurately. Just let us know. Even if you know that you've submitted but you don't know when, just say, I know I've submitted before, no clue when. We can look that up on our end. And that's specifically submitted with this show, not for any show. And we would love to hear how people found out about the festival. It helps us track where people hear about us. And then this question, why are you submitting your show to the festival, is very important. It is not just a quick survey question. It is actually a question that sometimes comes up in the process as we're selecting shows. So I represent the writers when I'm in the process as the moderator of the committee meetings. And I just need to know from you, why do you want to be part of this festival? Are you looking for opportunities to get your show developed? Where do you think your show's at? Where do you think it needs to go next? How can the festival be helpful? Explain to us why this festival and why your show. It is not read out loud, but if the committee does have questions about your application and what you're thinking needs to happen next, I will turn to this question to help illuminate the conversation. So this just isn't a spot where you go because the NAMT Festival is awesome. As much as I appreciate and agree with that, is not what we're looking for. We're looking for, honestly, why. It should not be 2 pages. It should just be a paragraph or 2. Just let us know. Here's writer information. And I'll skip through this quickly. Writer's name, is it book, music, or lyrics? Are they ASCAP or BMI? Again, no impact on that at all. That just helps us with our funders. Address, agent information, email, phone number, bio. You'll be asked to repeat that another handful of times until you have completed all your writers. If you have more than 3 writers, there is the additional writer box you see here on the right. We just ask that you continue to let us know their name, what they provided, their affiliation, their address, their email, their phone number, their agent information, and their bio. We ask you to give your show, we want to know about your musical. What is the genre? You can be broad with this. You can say comedy. You can be super specific and say 1962 noir drama set in LA. You can, whatever you want to say here, that is not seen by the committee. That's just for me. We'd like to know if there's any pre-existing material that we need to know about this in here. Again, the committee doesn't know that. Here's where you would upload an underlying rights document to let us know that you have underlying rights to work on this piece. 100-word synopsis for this musical, just 100 words. Just let us know what is the musical about. In your script, you're allowed to provide a half-page synopsis where if you want, you can get a little more into the plot of the show. But just 100 words, what is the show about? This field is distributed to the committee members at the festival committee meeting. So do not include your names in the synopsis field of this form. And these synopses are actually read out loud in one of our committee meetings as we're going through the shows. Break down the number of principal females and males, the number of ensemble roles. All that is how you would define those roles. If you see it as an ensemble show and there are no principals, and it's evenly split, you'd enter 0 principal males, 0 principal females, and then 5 male ensemble and 5 female ensemble. The number of principal male and females need to be a specific number, but the ensemble can be a range. So if you know that right now you have 2 men ensemble and 2 female ensemble, but you are flexible and it can go higher than that or lower, you can put down 0+ to signify it could be 0 ensemble members or 20 ensemble members. You could say 2 to 8. So you have to put a little more information in these ensemble roles so we know what flexibility you have in the ensemble casting. Other casting need is just you will let us know that if there's a child we need to be aware of, if there's going to be puppets or a bunch of dogs or an emu or whatever. It's just good for us to know if there's any special casting we need to be aware of. Orchestra size is your ideal orchestra size, not for the NAMT presentation. What do you, when you finally get into production, what do you see this orchestra being? Do you see it being just 3 people? Do you see it to be a full Broadway pit? Is it just piano? Just let us know what that size is, and then a quick orchestra breakdown of what you think that would be. There's many people who fill this out and say, no clue. I have no clue what my orchestra is going to be. Or they say, piano for now, not sure next. Just be honest with us and let us know what you hear in your head. This is also given to the festival committee in one of the committee meetings. It just helps us know what you hear in your head and what size of show you're thinking. We'd like to know past readings, workshops, and productions, where you've been, where you've worked on the show. We also like to know if you have any upcoming readings, workshops, or productions. Upcoming readings, workshops, and productions will not prohibit your acceptance into the festival. We just like to know what's on the horizon for you. You list any awards, recognitions, prizes, or nominations for this musical. Then we ask you to do the same for the writer. Just helps us know about the pedigree of the show and where it's been. Again, none of the committee members see any of this. This is just for me. And here's where you'll upload the script and the demo. Here's the script page where you choose a file. The script must be a PDF format. This means we can't accept Word docs or Pages docs. It must be a PDF, and actually our form will stop you if it's not a PDF. You will then select that you're going to either upload your demo tracks, or you're not going to upload your demo tracks and just send us a CD. Again, we very much prefer for you to upload your demo tracks. If you need to mail us a CD, that is fine, but you must adhere to the same deadlines as the application. There's no grace period. Here's also where you can upload a zip. We would really love it if everyone uploads a zip file this year, but we know that not everyone can do that. Especially if you have more than 20 demo tracks, please do upload a zip file. We will then go into your zip file and pull the additional tracks and get those to the committee members. The reason why we ask for a zip file is very simple, is that if you have titled all your tracks, track 01, track 02, track 03, when you send them to us as a zip, they will remain in show order. But if your first song is Bob Gets a Bagel, and your second song is Andy Gets an Aardvark, when we go to look at those tracks in the zip file, they will be out of order. They won't be in show order anymore. So that's why we ask you to also upload the first 20 tracks in order, so we know that we are listening to the tracks as if we had the demo CD in front of us. It's a safety precaution. We just want to make sure that we don't do any of your shows a disservice. So we ask you to upload all the individual tracks to the application also. Finally, this is the almost done page. We ask you to look it over one more time. Once you have clicked the button submit at the end of this form, it now comes into our hands and you no longer can access it. If we see that there's something wrong with your application, we will contact you and we can actually give you access to your application again. So we can say, hey, Karin, I saw that you submitted your script. Unfortunately, it has your name on it. I'm going to open up back your application for you. Can you go in and please replace with a proper PDF of your script with no names on it? So just give it a quick proof, make sure everything's in there that's accurate. You're asked to certify that you have not, essentially you've not lied on this application. The person who fills out the form fills out this final box. If this form happens to be the credit card payment form that we're looking at, you'll be asked to enter your credit card information. You can also choose to use PayPal here at the bottom, and then you click Submit. This is the Submit button that will finish your application. If you're not paying by credit card, if you're paying by check, or you don't have to pay because you're being endorsed by a NAMT member or you're a festival alumnus writer, you will not see this screen. You click Submit right there. You can also just save your draft. If you're antsy like I am and you want to look at it one more time, click Save Draft. Go take a walk around the block. Come back and look at it again. But when you're finished and you know you're finished, click Submit, and now it's in our hands. The application will stop you if you haven't filled anything out that's required. That's what those red stars are. And just so it will actually stop you from submitting something that's incomplete, which is really great. If you've entered too many words, it will stop you and say that you've gone past your maximum. If you were supposed to enter an email address, you didn't enter an email address, it'll tell you anything that you've done wrong. The form will catch you and tell you to redo it. If you have been successful, you see this beautiful page. Once you see this page, you know that it's now in our hands and all is right. If anything is wrong, we will let you know. After the submissions are all closed, we will send everyone an email saying, yes, we've received your script, all is good, do not worry about it. If we are expecting a check from you and we do not get the check in time, you will hear from us stating that your application is on hold until we receive the check. The primary contact on this email, on this form, will actually receive this email, just stating that again that you have successfully filed the application, and here's that when you will hear from us will be in mid-May. So any questions about the application itself before I talk about this selection process and what it's like being in the festival? Any questions about the application?
We've got a couple typed in, and I do see a raised hand as well. I'll start with the typed ones that have been waiting. Can I submit, sorry, that was out of order. If I work for the endorsing member organization, does that rule my show out of consideration? So just to clarify, you're the writer and the endorser in this case. Is that correct,
Yep,
Maggie?
absolutely does not matter. Does not matter to us. That happens all the time. As long as someone endorses your show, even if you are a producer or you run a theater and you endorse your own show, totally works for us. The purpose of the endorsement is that the members of the committee need one of their colleagues to tell them that this show is worth them taking time out of their busy days to look at it. So you run a theater and you've written a musical, that's awesome. You can endorse it yourself, no worries.
Great. Carl asked, can I submit more than one show?
Yes, absolutely. A writer can submit as many shows as they can get endorsements for. So if you have 100 shows and you can get 100 endorsements, go for it. We have lots of writers who send in more than one show a year. But they need to be unique endorsements. So if you get the Fifth Avenue, which is a NAMT member in Seattle, to endorse 2 of your shows, that's going to be 2 of their 3 endorsements they can give for free. But you can't get an endorsement from a non-member theater, and that is your endorsement for as many shows as you want. Each show needs its own unique endorsement.
But the same, just to clarify, the same organization can endorse all your shows, but each show needs its own separate endorsement, and they just count towards the numbers for that organization.
Correct.
Right. Great. If we submit a full, this is from Kelly, if we submit a full and finished script and are accepted, Are we allowed to make any changes to the script prior to the festival, or do we have to present exactly what we submitted?
That is a fantastic question. I'll actually take care of that in the next step as we talk about the selection process.
And then Deborah has a raised hand, so Deborah, I will unmute you.
Hi. I finally found the question part and just put this question in, but I have 3 questions. What if the characters could be played? What if the characters could be played by any gender? Would you put that under other casting needs?
That's a great question. I would put I would just split the number either evenly between male and female, or put it all male and just put under casting needs that says, you know, gender fluid, gender not an issue for any of the roles, and just let us know.
Okay, great. And
go ahead.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
I had another. So we don't provide any sheet music. Is that right?
No, just the demos and the script. No scores, no sheet music, no lyric sheets.
Okay. And is there any advantage to submitting early? Like, will you help us improve the application itself if that's relevant if we put it in sooner than December 22nd?
It is nice for me, but for the committee, what I actually do is I actually hold out, and I scatter when I send them to the committee, so they don't know if it's a member or a non-member. So you could send it in this week, and I may not send it to them until January, because I try to spread things out and randomize it a bit. But yeah, there's no benefit other than it'll make you feel better, and I would love to get it early.
Okay, great, thanks.
And just if you want to get a sense of how, let me make sure this is true while I talk. But the other casting needs field is a field that winds up on our website. If your show gets into the festival, there is of course a chance to change it and clean it up. So don't worry about that. But if you want to get a sense of how that has been used, you can look at the festival history, as Brandon suggested you do before you submit, and just see the kind of notes that people have put in there in the past. It can be about children or animals, as Brandon said, or things like this question. So I may have just lied to you. I think that might only be for members in the new works directory. But yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I'll stop talking and let Brandon do his thing. Any other questions on this section before we move on? Okay.
Great. So let me jump back to the website here. There we go. So I'm going back down here to questions to 5 and 6, which is the selection process. The festival committee is made up of 15 NAMT members from across the membership, representing different types of members from across the spectrum. So you have, just like NAMT members themselves, you have small organizations that are specifically devoted to developing new work. We have some from our academic members, who are mostly universities, all the way up through large theaters like the La Jolla Playhouses and the Old Globes. We try to make sure that the festival committee is representative of the membership, and the membership is ultimately representative of the industry. They are all very, very busy people who are all running theaters or are commercial producers. So then this is a voluntary position that they do for 3 years. But they all share a passion and a love for this festival and for the musical theater and developing new work. You can see here a lovely little chart, which I think is this tab. There we go. Which is the submission evaluation process. You send in your application. I then assign it to a handful of committee members on a subcommittee that helps us screen the shows in round 1. Each show is actually now read by 4 committee members. In round 1, they are asked to look at listen to half of your demos, and they'll read the first 20 pages of the script, not including any preface pages. We take care of that cutting on our end, and we give them PDF of your reduced script, so do not worry about that. But they'll read the first 20 pages, they'll listen to half or more of the demo, they fill out a quick evaluation. The evaluation is not about actually the quality of the work. We really go from a place of how excited are you by this demo? How excited are you by this script? Do you want to read more? As a producer, an artist, someone who works in the field, Do you want to work on this? Do you want to read more about this? How excited are you about this show? It's not about, oh, that music is really well done. Oh, those lyrics are really well laid on top of the music. Great musicals are going to have that inherent in them. So instead, we're looking for great, exciting musicals that excites this committee. In round one, about 50% of the shows will be selected to move on to round two. That's when the festival committee will then read full scripts and demos. So then each show is read by 4 committee members. They look at the full script, listen to the full demo. They again answer some online surveys for me about how excited they are, how passionate they are, how much do they think this will be produced. Do they think it's ready for the festival? Do they think it's right for the festival? Do they think the membership will be excited? Are they excited? Are they passionate about this work? Is it a new voice? Is it a diverse voice? Are they doing something exciting with musical theater? We ask them all these different questions, and then we gather together in April, late April, for a meeting where I moderate with the committee, where we figure out from those 60 or so shows that are in round two, what are the 20 or so shows that we're going to take an even deeper dive on and move them on to round three. When a show moves on to round three, there's an opportunity for those writers to send us an updated script or a one-page document that outlines any changes that have happened since the show was submitted in December or January. The committee then, all 15 members of the committee read all 20 or so shows, full scripts, full demos, and then we gather together again in early June, and from there we figure out how to go from 20 shows down to 8. What are they ultimately looking for in those 8 shows? Is we're not looking for good musicals, and I'm not joking when I say that we're looking for great musicals. We are looking for musicals across the spectrum of development. We're looking for musicals across the spectrum of development and diversity. We're looking for new sounds. We're looking for people using old sounds in exciting ways. We're looking for small shows. We're looking for gigantic shows. We're looking for very esoteric shows. We're looking for shows that can have a very broad commercial audience. We're looking for shows that would be great in the regionals. We're looking for shows that could potentially maybe someday be great on Broadway. We're looking for a little bit of everything. Our membership represents everyone across the industry, so we are looking to serve all of them. So we are not just about shows for the regionals. We're not just about really, really arty shows. We're not just about big commercial shows. We're about finding a group of 8 amazing shows that will excite our audience and help move the art form forward. So we're looking at our passion for the project. We're looking whether or not this is a new voice, is it diverse against the other shows we're looking at, and how can we take those and create an 8-show mini season that will happen over 2 days that will excite, inspire, and engage the industry. So we may love 2 shows equally. It may be our 2 favorite shows, but if those 2 shows are both 12-person historical dramas with contemporary musical theater music in them, we're probably going to need to choose one of them. So we are looking at trying to create the most diverse season possible. So throughout this whole process, we are making sure we have a little bit of every type of show as we step through every part of this process. So we're able to have a diverse, exciting group of shows to present at the festival. Anybody have any questions about the submission evaluation process before I go into the process of actually being part of the festival?
We've got a couple here from Deborah. If we know that some songs are more impactful than others, is there a way to highlight those in the application?
More what? Can you say that adjective again?
Impactful?
No. If it's impactful, the committee will know it's impactful. We'll leave that to them to decide.
Great. And is a one-person musical something that might have a place in the festival?
Absolutely. We came very close to doing one this last year. We've actually done a couple before. It's something we are always looking at. You know, we're also looking at gigantic shows. So absolutely, we would love to look at it.
When you look at the first 20 pages, do you listen to all the songs or just the songs in the first 20 pages?
Once again, when they look at the 20 pages, they listen to half the songs, which tends to be the first half of the show, the first half of the demo, and they're encouraged to continue listening, but we actually use it as a litmus test, that if they can barely get through the first half of the demo, that's not a good sign. If they get through half the demo, that's a good sign. If they cannot stop listening to the demo because they love it so much, that's a great sign. It's actually one of the questions I asked them to let me know so I can help assess their feelings on the product.
Okay, anything else from our audience? All right.
So then the final part of it is what is it like to be selected as part of the festival? The NAMT Festival is very unique in the fact that we pay for the entire festival process. We do not ask our writers to contribute or pay for any part of the production or administration of the festival. And at the same time, we do not take any money from the writers. We do not take fees. We do not take royalties. We do not take points off the back end. No windfall clauses, nothing. We want to send these shows out into the world unencumbered so they can have the best possible future. All we ask of our shows is that in the future is that we get a credit on the title page along with our fellow developers. So just a little one line at the bottom of the title page that says that it was presented and developed at NAMT. The NAMT Festival process is intensive for the writers. It is a festival ultimately for the writers. And we expect our writers to be part of the whole process, from casting to choosing the staff to the cut to everything. Our writers are very much part of the process, and we actually pay our writers because we know the time they need to put into it. Our writers are also expected to be here for rehearsals and the festival, which can be starting about 10 days out from the festival. They're expected to be here in New York City and part of this process because, again, it's about them. And then once our writers are done with the festival, they become part of our festival alumni group, which is over 400 and almost 450 writers at this point. And they become part of our family and are invited to writers' roundtables and get newsletters and can attend conference sessions that are really brought into the organization. And we help them with continued development of their show and the development of their careers after they've been in the festival. Many people ask us about the process of selecting the 45-minute cut. It is its own unique process. I assign one or two members from NAMT, from our theaters, to help advise each show to figure out the best 45 minutes. It's never the first 45 minutes. We tend to basically take Act 1 and squish it down to 45 minutes. We are ultimately looking to present the best 45 minutes that is a trailer for your show, and we ultimately look to try to find a way to end it on a cliffhanger, to end it on something that entices the audience of industry members to need to know more. So do not worry about how your show will shrink down to 45 minutes. Do not wonder how it's going to shrink down to no more than 10 or 12 actors. I could do Les Mis with probably about 5 people in 45 minutes. So we are very experienced at this, and we know exactly how to give each show its best showing at the festival. Anybody have any questions about being part of the festival? I see that we're coming near the end of time, so I'll give any last questions about being part of the festival, or questions in general about applying for the festival or the submission process.
I don't. So wait. Danny asked piano only at the festival.
For the festival, it is piano plus 1 instrument. There are sometimes options to be able to add on an additional instrument, but piano plus 1 is more than enough. They're very bare bone readings with stands and music stands, and it's very weird if there's something a 12-person band. So it's just piano, maybe another instrument to give a taste of the music, and that's all the industry needs to be able to hear the show.
Anything else? That's all I'm seeing.
Okay, great. So if at any point you guys have questions, this is my email address. You can also go to www.namp.org/festival at any time to check up on the festival or to find ways to contact us. A reminder that the deadlines are fast approaching for non-members. The non-member endorsed shows, the deadline is December 22nd for a $70 application fee. For an additional $15, you can have until January 5th. That is an application deadline by the end of that day, which also includes any supplemental materials you need to mail. If you're endorsed by a NAMT member, associate member, or you're a festival alumni writer, you have until January 12th or January 26th for an additional $30 late fee. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any further questions, please never hesitate to reach out to us. And thank you for taking the time to learn more about the festival, and we can't wait to see and read your shows that you're submitting to us this year.
This webinar was recorded. It will be at the bottom of the page with the submission instructions that Brandon showed you earlier. So if you need to go back and refer to anything, or you have people you want to share it with, your co-writers or other colleagues, it will be there later today or early tomorrow at the latest. So just check that page and refresh it if you've got it open already. That will be there. If you are a NAMT member, you can see recordings of all our Knowledge Exchange webinars under member benefits in the menu bar, Knowledge Exchange webinars, and just log into that. If you're not a NAMT member, you can find information on how to become one also under member benefits on the website. Thank you for joining us, everybody, and thank you and you're welcome to those of you who are typing kind comments in the box, and thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.